Harper Audio presents Beautiful Ruins by Jess Walter. Performed by Edoardo Ballerini. To Anne, Brooklyn, Ava, and Alec. The ancient Romans built their greatest masterpieces of architecture for wild beasts to fight in. Voltaire, The Complete Letters. Cleopatra, I will not have love as my master. Mark Antony, then you will not have love. From the 1963 disaster film, Cleopatra. Dick Cavett 4 great interviews with Richard Burton were done in 1980. Burton, 54 at the time, and already a beautiful ruin, was mesmerizing. Talk Story by Louis Menand, The New Yorker, November 22, 2010.
Chapter 1. The Dying Actress. April 1962. Porto Vergogna, Italy. The dying actress arrived in his village the only way one could come directly, in a boat that motored into the cove, lurched past the rock jetty, and bumped against the end of the pier. She wavered a moment in the boat's stern, then extended a slender hand to grip the mahogany railing. With the other, she pressed a wide-brimmed hat against her head. All around her, shards of sunlight broke on the flickering waves. 20 meters away, Pasquale Tursi watched the arrival of the woman as if in a dream. Or rather, he would think later, a dream's opposite, a burst of clarity after a lifetime of sleep. Pasquale straightened and stopped what he was usually doing that spring, trying to construct a beach below his family's empty pensione. Chest deep in the cold Ligurian Sea, Pasquale was tossing rocks the size of cats in an attempt to fortify the breakwater, to keep the waves from hauling away his little mound of construction sand. Pasquale's beach was only as wide as 2 fishing boats, and the ground beneath his dusting of sand was scalloped rock, but it was the closest thing to a flat piece of shoreline in the entire village. A rumor of a town that had ironically, or perhaps hopefully, been designated Porto, despite the fact that the only boats to come in and out regularly belonged to the village's handful of sardine and anchovy fishermen. The rest of the name, Vergogna, meant shame, and was a remnant from the founding of the village in the 17th century as a place for sailors and fishers to find women of a certain moral and commercial flexibility. On the day he first saw the lovely American, Pasquale was chest-deep in daydreams as well, imagining grubby little Porto Vergogna as an emergent resort town, and himself as a sophisticated businessman of the 1960s, a man of infinite possibility at the dawn of a glorious modernity. Everywhere he saw signs of il boom, the surge in wealth and literacy that was transforming Italy. Why not here? He'd recently come home from 4 years in bustling Florence, returning to the tiny backward village of his youth, imagining that he brought vital news of the world out there, a glittering era of shiny macchine, of televisions and telephones, of double martinis and women in slender pants, of the kind of world that had seemed to exist before only in the cinema. Porto Vergogna was a tight cluster of a dozen old whitewashed houses, an abandoned chapel, and the town's only commercial interest, the tiny hotel and cafe owned by Pasquale's family, all huddled like a herd of sleeping goats in a crease in the sheer cliffs. Behind the village, the rocks rose 600 feet to a wall of black striated mountains. Below it, the sea settled in a rocky shrimp
Sample complete. Ready to continue?